Good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call the City of Homestead Committee of the Whole meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, March 14th, 2023, and it is 5:31 p.m. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Avila. Here. Councilman Fletcher.
Here.
Councilwoman Bailey. Here. Councilwoman Faircloth-Staggers. Councilman Roth. Here. Vice Mayor Guzman. Mayor Lawson.
Here. All right. Thank you all. All right. Mr. Manager, are there any additions, deletions, or deferrals?
Thank you, Mayor. We have none.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening, Vice Mayor.
Evening.
Late afternoon, and we'll have the record reflect that the Vice Mayor has joined us. It's tab 1. We have before us the approval of the February 15th Committee of the Whole minutes. We have a motion to approve said minutes. Moved by Councilman Fletcher. Second by Councilwoman Bailey. All in favor? Any nays? Next item is tab 2. Motion to place car number 3825 on the council agenda. RFP 2023-13, Economic Development Consultant. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. On December 2nd, 2022, the City of Homestead released RFP 2023-13, Economic Development Consultant, which sought a consultant to assist the city in enhancing Homestead's economic vibrancy, competitiveness, and quality of life through an establishment of realistic, actionable strategies for economic development. The RFP closed on January 19th, 2023. More than 360 vendors were contacted and 2 responded. The Evaluation Committee met on February 28th, 2023, and recommended that the city manager or his designee enter into negotiations with a top-ranked firm, Business Flair LLC, and execute a contract in accordance with the established departmental budget. Business Flair LLC submitted a cost proposal of $163,800 for annual services, which is in accordance with the city's fiscal year 2023 budget for this item. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager or his designee to enter into the negotiations with the top-ranked firm, Business Flair LLC, and execute a contract in accordance with the established departmental budget. This is a 1-year agreement with the option to extend for 3 additional 1-year periods upon the same terms, conditions, and mutual written consent of both parties. And we have a representative here from Business Flair in case Council has any questions.
Sure, thank you. Well, let's at least have the representative come up and introduce themselves. And we'll open it at that point to questions or comments from council. Good evening and welcome.
Alicia Ali, Business Flair. I am the COO.
Pull the mic up a little bit. There we go. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Alicia Ali, and I am the COO of Business Flair. Nice to meet everyone.
Very good. Thank you. Council, any initial or questions or comments regarding this proposal? Okay. To refresh my memory, if we approve this and it goes to council next week, how quickly are we going to see some forward motion, meetings with council, public? How fast can we move on this?
Oh, we intend to get started, have a kickoff meeting with the city staff and whoever and lay out the project plan and get started.
Very good. Appreciate that. Well, if there's nothing further from council, then I'll entertain a motion to put this on the council agenda for approval.
Move it.
Moved by Vice Mayor. Second. We have a second by Councilwoman Bailey. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, our next item is tab 3, the motion to place car number 3821 on the council agenda. The Nextran Corp. DBA Nextran Truck Sole Source Procurement. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. The cost of repairs and replacement parts for the city solid waste front loader and side loaders are costly and typically exceed the administrative threshold for receiving multiple quotes. Because Nextran Corp. is the sole dealer within 150 miles of Homestead that is a certified dealer for Mack and Heel trucks, it is necessary to deem them sole source. This request serves to provide authorization for the fleet manager to expeditiously award purchase orders for the necessary parts and repairs to keep the solid waste department running. Due to the condition of some of the antiquated vehicles, repairs are happening more frequently. Staff is seeking approval of this sole source to be able to operate efficiently and as possible given the constraints of the current unstable market. Staff recommends that mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing city manager to purchase supplies, equipment, and services within established departmental budgets with Nextran Corp. DBA Nextran Truck for the city's solid waste front and side loader vehicles. Orders will be placed for parts and repairs as needed.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Manager. Appreciate it. Now, is this for commercial and household, or is this for bulk? Or both?
For all this will be for commercial and household.
But not bulk? This is just the rollout cans and dumpsters?
For the trash trucks as well,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, that's fine. What we're looking at are garbage trucks, not bulk waste trucks, correct?
It would include bulky waste trucks as well. If they were to break down, like a crane breaks down.
Okay,
And we could
gotcha.
send it out, yes.
Very good, thank you. Council, any questions or comments? Mr. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Manager, do we have any plans on ordering new trucks in the near future?
We already have 3 trucks in the pipeline, and we're trying to receive a grant for the 4th truck. What's happening out in the industry, they're going away from the diesel driven vehicles to electric. So right now, we have an older vehicle that we're still keeping online, so we can trade that in and probably get about $400,000 in trade-in for that, as plus a grant to go ahead and buy an electric vehicle, which the estimates are coming in close to $1 million for one vehicle.
So does that mean the city doesn't have any plans to go full electric anytime soon?
It would be done incrementally, of course.
Okay, so one additional for the next fiscal year. One additional truck with the grant and the 400,000.
No, we have 3 on order already. So once they become available, these are diesel-powered vehicles. They're coming in, but we got a 4th vehicle, which would be grant-funded, and that will be the electrical vehicle that we're looking at.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Council? All right. Do we have a motion to place this on the council agenda for approval?
Move it.
Moved by the Vice Mayor. Second by Councilwoman Bailey. All in favor? Any opposed? Next item, tab 4, motion to place car number 3823 on the council agenda. City of Homestead surplus property. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. Several city departments through procurement have determined that the attached list of miscellaneous items have outlived their usefulness and are no longer adequate for their intended purpose. Since it is no longer cost-effective to keep these items in operation, the city will auction them off as surplus. Staff recommends the mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to surplus the attached list of miscellaneous items that will be sold by means of an auction or disposed of by other authorized procedures as per City Code Section 2440, surplus property.
Thank you, sir. Council? Questions, comments? Was it too late to get the kiln on this list, or has staff been able
I
to speak
had
with you
reached
about
out to
that?
Parks, but I had not heard back about that. But if it's not going to be used, we'll definitely put it in the next surplus.
Okay, very good. Thank you, sir. Do we have a motion to approve? Moved by the Vice Mayor. Mr. Fletcher, was that a second? Okay. Seconded by Councilman Fletcher. All in favor? Any opposed? Next item, tab 5, motion to place car number 3788 on the council agenda. Fiscal year 2023 Community Project Funding Grant, Downtown Revitalization and Resilient Electrical Infrastructure Project. Yeehaw. That's what I like to hear about this one.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff recommends the mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement and establish a budget for a grant award from the Department of Housing and Urban Development in the amount of $1 million for the Downtown Revitalizations and Resilience Electrical Infrastructure Project. The Downtown Revitalization and Resilient Electrical Infrastructure Project consists of replacement of existing aging electrical facilities with more robust underground infrastructure able to withstand high winds and other natural disasters related issues in the older commercial part of the city, thus allowing local businesses to remain open and operational following a hurricane or other severe weather event. The underground facilities will be upgraded to handle the forecast increased electrical demand that is anticipated in conjunction with the planned downtown revitalization and to provide electric circuit redundancy. This grant requires no matching funds.
Thank you, sir. I'll boil it down to 2 words: reliability and aesthetics. keep these funds coming.
We're
Start
really excited
somewhere in
about
this
this one.
nucleus of wherever we start downtown and move outward throughout the city. Council, any questions or comments? We have a motion? Motion by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Councilman Fletcher. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Tab 6, it's motion to place car number 3816 on the council agenda. Capital Improvement Project number 2282, the Powell Gym Passenger Van Amendment. Mr. Manager?
Thank you, Mayor. In December of 2021, the city placed an order for a passenger van for the Powell Gym in the amount of $41,905. Delivery of the vehicle was delayed over a year due to production issues, but is now ready to be delivered. Due to the delay, Duval Fleet Sales has notified the city that the vehicle has increased in cost by $11,681, pushing the vehicle over the $50,000 procurement threshold, thus now requiring council approval. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council authorize the city manager to accept the price increase of $11,681 for the purchase of a passenger van from Duval Fleet Sales for the Homestead Police Department Powell Gym. The new total for the purchase is $53,586. This project is part of the city's capital improvement plan, CIP 2282.
Thank you, sir. Council, questions, comments? Yes, Councilwoman Bailey?
Thank you, Mayor. What happens with their old van?
Depending on the condition, it either will be auctioned out or sometimes it's picked up by another department that is in need of a vehicle. But it depends on the condition of the vehicle.
Okay, and I was just thinking if it is still in working condition, that we should hold on to it as long as possible.
We're squeezing the blood out of every nickel right now. Once again, just a year to receive a passenger van. It's ridiculous.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. All right, do we have a motion to approve? Moved by Councilwoman Bailey, seconded by Councilwoman Avila. All in favor? Any opposed? And moving right along, tab 7, this is a discussion item. Car number 3215, the Homestead Bus Rapid Transit Station names. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. At the February 22nd, 2023 council meeting, Miami-Dade County Department of Transportation and Public Works did a presentation on the status of the bus rapid transit system and the recommended naming conventions for the new BRT stations. Miami-Dade County Transit formally requested that the city review the naming options and provide feedback within 30 days. Staff is seeking direction. Bless you. You threw me off. Staff is seeking direction regarding the naming of the options for the BRT locations located at Campbell Drive, Civic Court, and Chrome Avenue.
Just leave that hanging, right?
Well-
7 different opinions here.
Well, if I can refer back to the original presentation, which is in your packets as well, for Campbell Drive, they had 3 options. Name it after street, so it would be Southwest 312th Street Station. Street name, it could be Campbell Drive Station, or communities or municipalities Homestead North Station. And so that same criteria would work for the 3 others. For Civic Court, it'd be Northeast Second Drive, or Civic Court, or Homestead Central. And for Chrome Avenue, it'd be Southwest 177th Avenue, Chrome Avenue, or Homestead South. And I'm sure if we have ideas for different ideas, I'm sure they'll be open to at least listening to your opinions.
Thank you, sir. Council, any initial thoughts? Did we go out and compile the names of the ancillary stations, the existing stations?
From our understanding, they're just the street numbers. And inside the packet, those 2 routes showing the Route 34 and 38, if I'm not mistaken, you can see how they're currently designated on
Thank
those.
you. Sorry for the interruption, Vice Mayor. You've got the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to ask the same question, just to see if we were going to stay consistent with the other stations that are adjacent to ours. But if we're going to, be unique, Campbell Drive, the middle one was Homestead Middle,
Okay,
Homestead Central, and then Chrome Avenue.
so we have, once again, Homestead North, which would be Campbell. Homestead Central, which would be Civic right outside the door here, or Homestead South, which would be the one by Showbiz Station.
Homestead North, Homestead South,
Homestead, right, north,
Homestead
south,
Middle.
and central.
Central.
All within a half a mile of each other,
All correct.
or less.
But if someone has a different idea of the naming convention, we could propose that as well to the county.
I do, but I know Councilwoman Avila wants to jump in.
Yeah, go ahead,
So,
Councilwoman
Vice
Avila.
Mayor,
Thank
are
you. I just want to give the idea of, branding our downtown a little bit, and the one for Homestead South, on Chrome Avenue. I mean, is there any objection to using downtown in the name?
Homestead Station.
Or Homestead Station?
I was leaning toward Homestead Station. Let's be consistent. That's where people park. That's what we branded it, and it's right there. So for me, that's a no-brainer. Homestead Station as to the southerly of the three, absolutely.
So then, for the one on 312, I mean, I like Homestead North, Homestead Central, and Homestead Station, but I don't mind doing Campbell Drive or Homestead North for that first one, but I like Homestead Central as the middle one.
The manager and I had talked about maybe Homestead Government Center, since that's at our back door. That's a very popular stop on the Metro Rail in terms of Government Center. That's kind of denotes, I think, a hub exit for folks who use the Metro Rail. And, that's us. We're perhaps Homestead Government Center or Civic Court. Just my thought. I mean, welcome to hear any of the others. And I prefer for the northerly one, the street name, just Campbell or Homestead Campbell, whatever the county needs.
Mr. Mayor.
Can I go to Councilman Fletcher? Councilman Fletcher.
Yeah, so I kind of fall in the same mindset. I believe that, Campbell Drive is a name, a mainstay in our community. I think it's readily identifiable as the location for that Homestead North would be Campbell Drive Station. I don't mind Government Center or Civic Court, either one, as the station. And I believe Homestead Station should be the name for the furthest south. Or Civic Center, something to that. Correct. So those are my thoughts. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Councilman Roth, did you want to jump in? Vice Mayor.
Is the option to name the middle one Miami-Dade College stop? Is there any options for that? Miami-Dade College is pretty important, Homestead.
Well, they're not here at the table. We were offered the naming rights. And it is, and I recall, and the sign may no longer be there, but I was on council when the busway was done and we put our preferences in for the naming of the stations. And while it may not be on the maps, I just seem to recall that the one on Campbell, the small bus stop that exists on Campbell now, was in fact College Station. Maybe we should encourage the county to designate that as College Station, to be clear there, rather than just the street name or the street number or whatever they're doing, since we're doing Campbell on the big new station.
Okay.
But no, I agree. But I think that was there, and I don't know, it's been lost over the last 20 years or so.
So then the consensus would be Campbell Drive, Government Center, and Homestead Station.
Or Civic Center, whichever.
I'd like to keep the Homestead word on the sign in the naming, so that we have
Here or
On-
down at Homestead Station?
On all of them.
on the names of all three of the stops. I think
Homestead Campbell Drive.
Homestead Campbell Drive,
Homestead
Homestead
Civic
Civic
Center.
Center, and Homestead Station.
Yeah, I'm fine with
Yeah.
that.
Civic Center or Government Center?
Let's call it Civic. I think that drags in the educational facilities as well as a government facility. So we got that. So we've got Homestead Campbell, Homestead Civic, and Homestead Station.
Excellent.
All in favor? Everybody's good with that? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. All right. Anything further, Mr. Manager?
No, Mayor.
Well, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the committee of the whole meeting.
Motion to
Moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor? And we will convene the special call in just a moment. Thank you all. All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome. I'd like to call the special call City of Homestead Council meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, March 14th, 2023, and it is now 6:02 p.m. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll, please?
Councilwoman Avila. Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers. Councilman Roth. Councilman Fletcher. Councilwoman Bailey. Vice Mayor Guzman. Mayor Losman.
Here. All right, thank you. Hey, before we get too far down the line, I just want to mention that in the last week or so, I've had at least two different individuals share with me that they watch these meetings either online or after the fact, and they have a hard time hearing our vote sometime. So just a reminder to be sure your microphone's on and lean into it, particularly when you're voting. I mean, at all times, but you know what they shared, what at least two people shared with me, that they had a hard time hearing and understanding what each of our votes were. All right. So, Mr. White?
Yes, Mayor. This is the quasi-judicial section of your agenda. Please be advised that the following items on the agenda are quasi-judicial in nature. If you wish to comment upon any of these items, please indicate the item number you would like to address when the announcement regarding the quasi-judicial item is made. An opportunity for persons to speak on each item will be made available after the applicant and staff have made their presentations on each item. Swearing in, all testimony, including public testimony and evidence, will be made under oath or affirmation. Additionally, each person who gives testimony may be subject to cross-examination. If you do not wish to either be cross-examined or sworn, your testimony will be given its due weight. The general public will not be permitted to cross-examine witnesses, but the public may request the council to ask questions of staff or witnesses on their behalf. The full agenda packet on each item is hereby entered into the record. Persons representing organizations must present evidence of their authority to speak for the organization. Further details of the quasi-judicial procedures may be obtained from the clerk. In accordance with Code Section 2-590, any lobbyist must register before addressing the council on any of the following items. At this time, council members must disclose any ex parte communications concerning the quasi-judicial items on the agenda this evening.
Council, anything in addition to what we have previously disclosed on these items? I think we all disclosed prior to the deferral of this group of items last time.
For the record, because we never opened the public hearing on that, I would just please just go through them one more
Okay.
time.
Ms. Fairclough? Thank you, Taz. 1 through 6. Mr. Councilman Fletcher.
1 through 5. 6
Vice
is-
Mayor?
Tabs 1 through 6.
1 through 6 for the mayor.
1 through 6 for me as well.
As well.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So then at this time, I would ask anyone in the audience who's wishing to speak on any of the following items this evening to please stand, raise your right hand to be sworn in by the clerk.
Do you hereby swear or affirm to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God? Thank you. You may be seated.
So, Mayor, tab 6 is a legislative item. It's the corresponding future land use map amendment that we need to consider first, followed by tabs 1 and 2, which are the second readings of the related rezonings. Then the new items for consideration that you haven't seen before are tabs 3, 4, and 5, which are a variance, followed by tab 4, which is a site plan, and then the corresponding tentative plat. I can introduce each one of those items. We can have a public discussion conversation, and then you can take a vote separately on each one of those items, starting with tab 6,
Right.
followed by 1.
Let's do it in that fashion, and unless there are any objections from council, we'll have a comprehensive reading into the record and then presentation from the applicant and discussion, followed by an individual vote.
So tab 6 is a second reading of the ordinance of Homestead, Florida, amending the comprehensive plan future land use map designation as requested by D.R. Horton, Inc. of an approximately 8.63 acre parcel of land from light commercial use, LCU, to medium density use, MRU, for property generally located on the southwest corner of Southwest 162nd Avenue and East Maury Drive as legally described in Exhibit A, providing for conditions, providing for conflict, severability, and providing for an effective date. This is second and final reading. Tab 1 is the second reading of an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the rezoning as requested by D.R. Horton, Inc. of an approximately 2.36 acre parcel of land from restricted retail commercial B1 zoning district to townhouse RTH zoning district for property generally located on the southwest corner of Southwest 162nd Avenue and East Maury Drive as legally described in Exhibit A, providing for conflict, severability, providing for an effective date. Second and final reading. Tab 2 is an ordinance of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the rezoning as requested by D.R. Horton, Inc. of an approximately 6.27 acre parcel of land from multiple apartment R3 zoning district to townhouse RTH zoning district for property generally located on the southwest corner of Southwest 162nd Avenue and East Maury Drive as legally described in Exhibit A, providing for conflict, severability, and providing for an effective date. This is second and final reading. Tab 3 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting a variance request from Section 30-159A parking of the City Code of Homestead to waive the requirement that each two-story townhome dwelling unit provide an attached storage area that is at least 40 square feet accessible from the exterior required for the development of a new residential subdivision totaling 69 residential townhome dwelling units located on an approximately 8.63 acre parcel of land generally located on the southwest corner of Southwest 162nd Avenue and East Maury Drive as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date. Tab 4 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting site plan approval as requested by D.R. Horton, Inc. for the development of 69 residential townhome dwelling units on an approximately 8.63 acre parcel of land generally located in the southwest corner of Southwest 162nd Avenue and East Maury Drive as legally described in Exhibit A, providing for an effective date. And finally, Tab 5 is a resolution of the City of Homestead, Florida, granting tentative plat approval as requested by D.R. Horton for the development of 69 residential townhome dwelling units on an approximately 8.63 acre parcel of land generally located at the southwest corner of Southwest 162nd Avenue and East Maury Drive as legally described in Exhibit A and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. White. Development Services.
Good evening. The applicant, D.R. Horton, is requesting entitlements for the proposed development referred to as Machado Groves, which consists of 69-unit residential townhome subdivision on an approximately 8.63 acre parcel, generally located at the southwest corner of Southwest 162nd Avenue and East Maury within the City of Homestead. In order to accomplish the proposed development program, the applicant has applied for the following: the future land use map amendment from light commercial use to medium residential use for 8.73 acre parcel, a rezoning from restricted retail commercial to townhouse district on a 2.56 acre parcel, the rezoning from multiple apartment district to the townhouse district on approximately 5.7 acre parcel, the variance as described by Mr. White to reduce the storage areas a minimum of 10 square feet where the code requires a minimum of 40 square feet, and accessible from the interior where the code requires access from the exterior. The site plan for the 69-unit residential townhome subdivision and the corresponding tentative plat. The property consists of 2 vacant parcels currently zoned restricted retail commercial district and multiple apartment zoning district with a future land use map designation of light commercial use. If the second reading of the flume and the zoning amendments are adopted today, it would permit the development of the residential townhouse subdivision consistent with 2.1 of the city's adopted comprehensive plan. The proposed development consists of 69 townhome units, resulting in 8 units per net acre. The site plan development consists of private streets with primary ingress-egress to the community from East Maury Drive. Internal access to the 69 townhome residential subdivision is provided by a 50-foot right-of-way cross-section consisting of 24-foot paved private streets, drainage swales, valley curbs, and sidewalks. The proposed amenities for the residential subdivision feature a community area located at the center consisting of a community garden, shaded pavilion with picnic tables, fitness stations, and a children's playground area with interactive play equipment. There is a dog park enclosed by a 48-inch high fence equipped with automatic pedestrian entry gates located on the south of the community. There are 4 proposed models included. Townhome models consist of models C, D, E, and F, which include 2 3-bedroom, 3-bath models and 2 4-bedroom, 3-bath models ranging in size from 1,640 square feet through 1,871 square feet under AC space. The minimum width for each townhome is 25 feet, and the lot area for each unit is approximately 2,250 square feet, exceeding the minimum code requirement of 2,000 square feet. Model home elevations are 2-story with single-car garages and a double-loaded driveway. Each unit provides a 150 square foot rear patio terrace. The residential subdivision provides approximately 3.5 parking spaces per unit for a total of 220 parking spaces, 1 space in the attached garage, and 2 parking spaces in the driveway per unit, and 13 parallel parking spaces throughout the community. Following the February 22nd council meeting, the applicant provided technical information and drawings, which included the following: a traffic simulation for the existing and proposed conditions at the intersection of Southwest 162nd Avenue and Maury Drive. Pursuant to staff's review, it was found that the results of this traffic simulation and synchro analysis are consistent with the volumes provided in the approved traffic study. The materials indicated that additional traffic counts were collected in February 2023, which were not provided to staff. However, given that the results of this traffic simulation and synchro are consistent with the volumes in the approved traffic study, staff determined that reviewing the additional counts was not warranted at this time. The applicant also provided revised site plan that added additional proposed amenities for the residential subdivision, featuring the community area located at its center, consisting of the community garden, the shaded pavilion with picnic tables, the fitness stations, and the children's playground with interactive play equipment. They also provided revised landscaping sheets and revised renderings of the building elevations, all provided for in your packets. Staff makes the following recommendations for the items before you this evening. Staff recommends approval of the request for the future land use map amendment from light commercial use to medium residential use. Staff recommends approval of the request to rezone from restricted retail commercial to townhouse district. Staff recommends approval of the request, we recommend approval of the flume and the 2 rezonings. Apologize. Staff recommends denial of the variance request to permit reduced storage areas at a minimum of 10 square feet in size and accessible from the interior of the garage for the proposed development where code section 30-159A requires each unit shall provide an attached storage area of at least 40 square feet and accessible from the exterior. The requested variance does not meet the criteria established under City Code section 30-42C necessary for granting the variance. The applicant is requesting a variance not to provide the required storage of 40 square feet for models units E and F. Providing the required storage will not prevent the applicant to enjoy reasonable use of the property. The variance is a self-created hardship. Staff recommends denial of the proposed site plan, really because of the variance requests. You can't meet the hardship for the variance, then by default, we recommend denial of the site plan and the tentative plat. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we hear from the applicant, does council have any questions for either our attorney or planning staff? All right, time to hear from the applicant's representative. Welcome back.
Thank you all. It's great to be here today. Maritza Haro with offices at 200 South Biscayne Boulevard. Here on behalf of D.R. Horton, I just want to thank the council and the mayor again for accommodating this meeting. I'm joined this evening by Javi Tavel and Cynthia Caldevilla from D.R. Horton. Our traffic engineer, Juan Ortega from JFO Group, is joining us virtually, and my colleague, Graham Penn, is here with us. We respectfully request approvals of tabs 1 through 6 in order to permit the development of a small townhome community that will, 1, reduce the current traffic and development impact that could be generated by the property today under its current zoning, and 2, facilitate the American dream of home ownership in the city. I know you're all familiar with the property. It's located on the southwest corner of East Maury Drive and Southwest 162nd Avenue, just west of the Turnpike. We came before this council on January 25th for first reading of the future land use map amendment to MRU and the rezonings to RTH. This evening, as staff mentioned, we're before you on the second reading of the FLUME and the 2 rezonings, as well as seeking site plan approval, a minor storage variance, and tentative plat approval. For reference, on the screen, you'll see the existing future land use maps and zoning maps. As you know, the property is designated light commercial use, and through this application, we're seeking a future land use map amendment to medium density residential, which is consistent with all the properties to the north and west. In the zoning map at the bottom of the screen, you'll note that the portion of the property is zoned R3, which generally permits apartments, and then the corner piece is zoned B1, which permits more intense commercial uses. We heard this council loud and clear at the January 25th hearing, and over the past month and a half, our team has worked hard to address all the comments received. We'd like to begin by providing an update on those requests. Specifically, we were asked to provide a traffic simulation of what the traffic will look like at build-out. There was also a question about timing from when the traffic signal on Southwest 162nd Avenue and Maury will be turned on. Some of the council members requested improved facade design and additional amenities for this community. And we're happy to be back before you this evening with answers. First, we confirmed with Miami-Dade County Transportation Engineering Division that the signal on Maury on 162nd will be operational by October of this year. The reason for the delay in turning on the signal is that the county has been working on building a northbound left-hand turn on 162nd, which requires a removal of certain trees. The county's in the process of securing that permit, which is why it's delayed turning on that light. But we've been assured that the right-of-way improvements and the signal will be operational by October. Notably, this project's build-out is 2025, so the signal will be operational before this project and others in the area are built. As our traffic engineer will share shortly, the traffic signal will significantly reduce the wait time at the intersection from currently about 16 minutes to about a minute. On the screen, you'll also see a number of planned improvements from the long-range transportation plan. We want to express that we're committed to working with the city and the county to expedite these and other improvements that the city deems a priority. Beyond this project, in February of this year, we facilitated a meeting between the executive director of the Transportation Planning Organization, Eileen Bouclé, the county's traffic engineering division, your city manager, your public works director, and the mayor. We met here at City Hall to discuss the timing and funding for these improvements so that together we can figure out a way to expedite their build-out and bring the necessary funds to Homestead. I'm happy to report that we have a follow-up meeting scheduled for this Friday to continue the conversations as well as discussions on how D.R. Horton can secure credit in lieu of impact fees from the county. What this will do, and not just D.R. Horton really, this can be encouraged of developers. What this will do, it'll allow improvements to be built quicker and ensure that road impact fees that would have been paid to the county anyways are invested here in Homestead. On the other traffic-related request, I would like to invite our traffic engineer, Juan Ortega, who will be joining us virtually to share the traffic simulation that was requested by Vice Mayor Guzman at the January hearing. And as staff mentioned, nothing's changed in the analysis. Everything you'll see is based on the traffic study that was approved and reviewed last year.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council members. My name is Juan Ortega. I'm the traffic engineer for the project. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear him. Everybody can hear him? Yes.
So Maritza is going to help me with the clicks on the presentation. So basically, it's a very cool exercise, and thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to do this, and especially to allow me to do this virtually. So I'm going to go through a brief review of what a traffic simulation entails and what we did here. So the typical traffic analysis and typical traffic studies that we do all the time goes to staff reviews the analysis, they impose conditions for program if needed, goes to the staff report, and it goes to public hearing. Next. So what we did today, and the exercise that you're going to see today, we took the outputs from the traffic study that was approved by the staff, and using the same software, the same platform, we generated a traffic simulation. Next. So, next.
Juan, can you try to speak slower and into the mic a little closer? Or maybe away from the mic?
Okay.
Let's see if we can hear you better.
Let me increase the volume on the mic. How about now? Next. So when we do a traffic simulation, the first thing that we do is we go to the field and we want to make sure that whatever simulation is being done matches what is happening on the field. And we did that, and staff mentioned that we went to the field twice to make sure that what the traffic simulation was showing matched what we had. And given that the analysis or the traffic simulation was a little more conservative than the field, we did not do any modification. So anybody that runs the output from the traffic study, we get that. The next step would be to calibrate the model. So for example, if we do a traffic simulation and the traffic simulation shows 2 cars waiting on Murray Drive, but we go to the field and we have 50 cars waiting to make a left turn, the traffic model will need to be updated, which it was not updated. And the same the other way around. If the traffic simulation shows 50 cars making a left or a right, and we go to the field and we show 2 cars, that means that the traffic model will need to be updated, which in this case, it was not. Next. So what we're going to see today is a very basic, cool exercise, but to some extent basic, of showing what the outputs are from the traffic study that was approved into a traffic simulation. Next. I'm going to briefly run through this because this was discussed at the hearing in January and today. So basically, there are 3 traffic studies associated with our request. One is the one that goes to the county where the city has no input, and whatever approval we get with the county has no weight on the city. And the next traffic study is the one for the land use. So given the existing land use, the proposed land use for the project generates less traffic than if something is built on the site. And again, it doesn't mean anything in the sense that the site is vacant. Whatever you put in there is going to generate additional traffic. The last traffic study, and is the one that we are going to see a simulation on today, is based on our request for the site plan and the rezoning for the site. And it was already approved by staff, and it's the one that we're going to see today. Next. One of the questions and one of the things that we discussed back in January is how is the traffic going to move around and where are people going to or coming from? So this is one of the exhibits included in the approved traffic study, which basically we looked at the destinations and origins in 2045 using the county's long range plan to know where projects are coming from and going to, or trips are coming from and going to. As you can see from this graphic, the most significantly or the most impacted intersection by the project is the Murray Drive and Southwest 162nd. Next. So then based on the intensities being proposed by the project, then we know exactly, or we're very close to know how many trips are going to be added to the airport during the busiest times of the day. The regional traffic study was done for 77 units, but since then the site plan changed and now we have 69 units. The model that you're going to see today is based on the 77 units because that is the approved traffic study. Next. So we go to the field, we do counts, we use data from DOT, we use 5 years of data from DOT to calculate the background growth. we look at the projects that are approved or in the system, and all of those things that added to the traffic simulation or the traffic study that you're going to see, that was reviewed by staff and that you're going to see today. Next. And a typical traffic study, this is what you're going to see. This is what your staff reviews. So basically, we look at different types of impacts. We look at different intersections. There is a methodology that is reviewed and approved by the city. We look at existing conditions, future conditions with our project. Next.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yes.
Can you try to speak a little slower and maybe closer to the mic or?
Okay.
Can we?
Next.
I'm sorry, hold on one second.
I believe there's two ways, right? You can either use your computer mic to log in. There's also an alternative where you can call in, and sometimes the sound quality is better by calling in.
Yeah. Juan, can you try calling in to the number on the
Yes,
WebEx
I will do that.
invite
I will
instead
do
to
that
see if
right.
we hear you better? Thank you.
Can we give him the number? Does he have the number?
So while we wait for him to join us, I wanted to point out that the projects that are listed on the screen are all included in this analysis. The Tropical Villas, the Everglades Academy, the Palm Villas, Maria Estates, Parker Point, they're all included, like the trip generation from those projects are part of this analysis.
Appreciate that, and it's important to note that some of these projects are not yet in place, but we've taken into account their future impacts that will be dovetailing with what's before us. So if the call-in doesn't work, who's going to head the baked goods and snow cone sales so we can buy some better speakers for the room? Technology has come a long way since this building was dedicated 6 short years ago.
The phone number that I'm trying to use a different microphone. Can you hear me better with this one?
It's much
This
better.
is better.
Yeah, the phone number doesn't work, so let's use this microphone instead. I'm sorry about that. So next, please. So this is the summary of the traffic study. This is ultimately what is approved and reviewed by staff. Next. So this is the bottom line, and this is the meat of the simulation that you're going to see today. So we know that the intersection that is going to be most impacted by the project is Maori Drive and Southwest 162nd. Based on this analysis and based on the field data collection that we did 3 times, shows that the AM is the absolute worst for this intersection, and that's what we are going to focus on today. Next. So this was discussed by Marita. So basically, we have a stop sign today. We have a traffic signal that is installed but is not operational. And we know that next, based on our conversations with the county, that the only reason or the reason why the signal is not on is because the northbound left, so there's a separate left turn lane that needs to be built. And once that is built, the signal will be turned on. Next. This is how it looks when the traffic study is submitted. So this includes all the analysis, and one of the reasons why it would be so difficult to look at an overall traffic simulation is that the screens will be too small. And that's why we narrow it down to find the intersection that is the worst in the area and the intersection that is mostly impacted by the project. Next. So in order to, and again, this is part of the validation process that I do when I do a simulation. So we went back to the field on February 2nd. We wanted to see how bad it was. So this is on Valley Drive looking west from the other side of the intersection. We compared that data against the data that we collected for the traffic study, and there was a small reduction in the AM and a small reduction in the PM for traffic. This is based on the number of cars going through the intersection. Next. So then we went back again on February 7th, and this was after our January meeting. And next, we wanted to find out what is the absolute worst in this intersection. We found out that give and take between 7:35 and 7:45 in the morning, it gets very hectic, it gets very busy, and we can see 18 cars waiting to make a left or a right turn. So we compared this against the model to make sure that the model was duplicating these efforts. And then based on that, we run the simulation for the future conditions. Next. And this is the basic. This does not include any projects. This is just shows the driveway where the proximity where the driveway is going to be from Machado Groves. It does not show the light. Next. It does not show the light. It does not show the separate left turn lane. It does not show. It shows this intersection working as basically a stop sign intersection. This is the worst 10 minutes in the morning. Maritza, there's a bar at the bottom, can you move this to just for time sake purposes to right in the middle, go to 2.5? No, yeah, that would be okay. So as we saw in the simulation, as we saw based on the data or based on the validation that we saw on the field in February, there's a point in the morning where the traffic starts just backing up really, really bad. You see traffic backing up on the northbound, blocking the through traffic going northbound. You see a lot of traffic going southbound. You see people not being able to turn. So what you see on the screen right now is exactly what we saw in February when we went back. The color of the car, so if you see a blue car, that means the car is going to turn right. If you see a yellow car, that means the car is going to turn left. And again, this is without without the traffic signal and without the turn lane. Next. This is in 2025. This is assuming when the project is going to be built. Now we have the signal in place. We have a separate left turn lane. We have the driveway showing where our cars are going to be during the peak hour. And now you're going to see what we expect to happen. This is going to run for 5 minutes. I can answer any questions at this time if you want me to, but and at the end I have a summary of the impact. So basically now the signal is on. The northbound left is in. This is the traffic from 2025. And we see a significant improvement. So as shown in the traffic study, today you have the guy in the back of that lane waiting to make a turn could potentially have to wait up to 17 minutes or more than 15 minutes in the morning to make that turn, and a little less than 15 minutes during the busiest hour in the PM to make the same turn. Once the signal goes live, the guy in the back of the line is going to wait around give and take 1 minute in the morning and a little less than a minute in the afternoon. Now, this is based on a traffic signal plan that has not been designed. This is my best guess on how it's going to work. So then give me a benefit of the doubt and I'm wrong by 100%. That means that the guy in the back of the line, when this signal is installed, as project builds out during the busiest hour of the day, is going to wait 2 minutes instead of the potential 17 minutes that they have to wait today. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Juan. Unless the council wants to ask questions now or save it for later, I can.
Let's go back to that last slide that gave us the times, the before and after times.
So this is the, with, at build out 2025 with the light. If you fast forward the video
And the
to
last
about half,
slide,
yeah, it shows
very
like
last
the worst,
panel, yeah.
the worst like 5 minutes of the day. It's an impressive improvement. It goes from 16-minute wait to about a minute or less.
Yeah, if we can get back to that, I think that's important to have in front of us. Yeah, fast forward, it's very last slide.
the last
Last
slide,
frame,
sorry.
yeah. At the end of the presentation, it had a comparison.
Correct. The last slide is the one that shows that
Right,
comparison.
that's what we're trying to get back to.
Here.
There we go. Okay, thank you. Let's
Right.
freeze it there.
So,
Okay, so, just for the record, so that we're all clear, you know, comparing apples to apples, that without the construction of Parker Point, without the construction of Machado Groves, the current morning wait is 17 minutes more or less at the intersection, and the afternoon wait is 13 minutes. That and you say Machado Groves build out, and I think implicitly, does that also mean the Parker Point
Yes.
build out? So,
correct,
All
it
of
does.
the-
right, so in the future, with this light, at the full build out of however many at Parker Point plus these 69 units, we're going to reduce the intersection wait from between 13 and 17 minutes to around 1 minute or so, just by the installation of the light that's there now.
Correct.
So this traffic flow did not contemplate the full 4 laning of 162nd in the future?
No.
Okay, it showed,
So that'll
so
be an
this showed in the
additional-
future current pavement conditions. So this doesn't even take into account the possibility of full 4 laning of 162nd.
That's correct, Juan, right?
Correct. Yes, that is correct.
Okay, just so we all understand what we're talking about and how this could improve further with the discussions you mentioned earlier with the internal meetings. All right, does that conclude your presentation?
No, I have a
Oh, go
few
ahead.
more slides.
Just,
To go.
just one point, Maritza. These numbers that you see on the screen and that you saw on the screen are from the traffic study that was reviewed by staff. They're not as a result of the simulation. They're based on the traffic study. And that concludes my portion of the presentation. I'll stay here just in case there are any more questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Juan.
I did want to ask staff a question. Ms. Lopez, the vetting process of that video, is it done internally or do we send that out to?
So Corradino is the city's traffic engineer that reviews all of the traffic studies, data collection, the synchro, et cetera. And so when we receive a traffic study, the synchro is embedded in the study, and then we don't replicate the synchro, we verify the data.
Okay, and that process takes approximately 2 weeks?
It depends on the traffic study, so, and the volume of the synchro. I have my traffic engineer on the line, and she could speak to exactly how long it takes to review a specific study. If you had questions about this study specifically or another study.
Like if we were going to gauge this one, would it be on the longer side or the shorter side when you say depending on the traffic study?
Vanessa, can you chime in?
Right. So it would depend on how many intersections they're studying. So the size of the development really kind of dictates how long it will take. It could take anywhere, like you said, it's from a week to 2 weeks, or like this one. Typically, it's an average of 3 days to go through all the data, to go through all the committed developments, and make sure all that input was correct. So when they provide the synchro output, it also includes all of the input that was used to get the output. So that's, something else we review rather than recreate the whole synchro. We look at the output reports that have all the standards they use to input. They have all the signal timing. It has the number of lanes, the turning movements, the speed. It includes just everything they input to get to the level of service. So we review that based off of, in their appendices, they also include all the traffic signal timing, the geometry. So they include everything we need to just review the output of the reports and make sure that it's accurate. So obviously, it really depends on the amount of intersections that we have to go through, and also the amount of committed developments. Like right now, because of all the development, a development that's coming up in Campbell may take me a little bit longer because there's so much committed development that goes into that, and then we have to check all of those trip generation as well to make sure they were input and included. And so it just, honestly, just depends. It's definitely a per development thing. On average, it's a full 3 days to review these traffic studies, though.
And just something to add, by the time we receive the traffic study, we've already reviewed the methodology consistent with Chapter 1.5 of the code. So we've worked with the applicant's traffic engineer to agree upon the intersections, the number of intersections, what we would like to see on the trip generation, contents of the traffic study that we need to conduct our analysis. So we don't start touching it for the first time at traffic submittal. We've already started touching it for the methodology review.
Okay, so is it possible for any new traffic studies that are presented to the City of Homestead, can we require them for them to submit a synchro also with their traffic study? Is that something that we can make a requirement and we embed that language into our process?
It's currently not a code requirement, but I can talk to James and Matt about that to see if it's a simple code amendment or if we cannot do it, and then report back on the final answer.
Just from seeing other traffic studies to now, it's a lot easier to understand the impact that it's going to have when we have a synchro instead of seeing all the trips and just all this compiled data. It doesn't make a lot of sense to us if you're not a traffic engineer.
Yeah, I work with this every day. And when I look at a synchro, it like bleeds all together. I have to rely on a professional engineer like Vanessa or like Juan to digest it for me.
So you said you'd have to ask James White or Matt?
Yeah, we'll talk collectively and then follow back up through the manager.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. So as you saw, the traffic signal will bring a huge improvement to traffic conditions in the area. However, the greatest improvement will come by approval of these applications, which will significantly reduce the impact that could potentially be generated through the redevelopment of the property today. The R3 zone portion of the property could arguably permit a 3-story, 45-unit apartment building. The B1 zone portion would permit a 6-story commercial building up to potentially 568,000 square feet in size. This application will significantly reduce the development impact of the property by limiting the development to 69 townhomes, no more than 2 stories in height, and will result in a significant reduction in traffic. Under the property's current designation, development of a 45-unit apartment building and a 6-story commercial building would result in 1,638 p.m. peak hour trips, whereas the proposed townhomes under these applications will result in 50 p.m. peak hour trips. This represents a reduction of over 1,500 p.m. peak hour trips. We see this as this application as an opportunity for the council to control development and ensure compatibility in this area. On the screen, you'll see the previously proposed site plan showing 69 townhomes and a total of 220 parking spaces. It also includes a tot lot, a bar park, and lush landscaping throughout. On the screen now, you'll see the revised site plan, which is in response to the council's request for additional amenities and improved design. The proposed site plan now includes a shaded tot lot, a community pavilion for small gatherings, a community garden to encourage gardening and pay homage to the city's agricultural history, and an exercise track with fitness stations. These were the original renderings. We were also asked for improved design and upgraded facades. In collaboration with this council, we have updated the finishes and color palette. As you see, additional facade treatments were added on the garage walls, shutters, improved light fixtures, and garage doors. Here's a further away view. As previously mentioned, we're also before you this evening for a minor variance. We really tried to avoid a variance at all costs. We know that, the council's position on them. From our perspective, this is a very minor one, and it's due to the property's size and shape. It's essentially to allow reduced storage area and access through the garage for about 24 of the 69 units. The RTH code regulations require a minimum of 40 square feet of storage be provided and accessible from the outside. Due to the property's unique shape, it's difficult to provide the storage on corner units without triggering additional variances. It's important to note that all the units will have some storage. As you can see on the screen and highlighted in yellow, that's, for example, unit type E, and will have approximately 10 square feet of storage accessible through the garage. Typically, the additional storage is used for like hurricane shutters, for instance, so we're addressing the reduced storage by providing hurricane impact windows in this community. And to conclude, this application satisfies the goals, objectives, and policies of the city's comprehensive plan and code. Under today's zoning, the property could be developed with apartments and commercial uses, further intensifying the visual and traffic impact of the area. We believe this council would agree that this area does not need more rental apartments. Instead, townhomes are not only compatible with the surrounding area, but are also in high demand throughout the county. Approval of these applications will provide a starter home for young professionals, families to get into the market and begin building equity. As a result of the collaborative effort between D.R. Horton and this council, we believe that this project before you today is significantly improved. We want to assure you that D.R. Horton is invested in this community. We're committed to working with this council and the city as we move forward. And with that, we respectfully request your approval this evening, and our team's available to answer any questions.
Thank you, appreciate that. Stand by. Anything further from staff or our attorneys before council kicks off its, oh, okay. Council, who would like to kick off the conversation? Councilman Roth.
Thank you, Mayor. I got a couple of thoughts and questions. One of staff on the traffic thing we saw here. I do find it kind of hard to believe that installing a traffic light is going to save 16 minutes of waiting time at that intersection. Are you in agreement with what you saw and how that traffic study was presented to us?
I'm going to allow my engineer to speak to that question, but she did review the simulation and found it consistent with the original traffic study, and the synchro matched the initial traffic study. But Vanessa, can you answer for Councilman Roth, please?
Sure. So, I mean, the biggest problem with the delay at this intersection is the north-south has a free flow movement while the east-west has to stop, correct? And so the reason that there's delay isn't necessarily because the amount of traffic per se, it's the lack of gap. So if you're trying to make a left off of Maori, you need to find a gap to do so. And that can be really difficult when the other movement doesn't need to stop. And so that's why the traffic signal is making such an impact, because it's allowing them to make a left a lot easier. And the same thing with the northbound left. Now you get an exclusive turn, which is going to make a huge difference because now they're not trying to find a gap from the southbound traffic. So the overall delay is going to decrease significantly, mostly because of the turning movements and not needing to find that gap, which can delay everyone behind you if you're waiting to try and turn.
Right, so it creates a solid stop condition for traffic on the other right-of-ways so that you could cross safely.
Correct.
Okay, you guys are the experts. I just find it hard to believe, especially when you add the other units across the street to that pattern. To me, looking at the aerials of that, and nothing against the development, because I think the development does take away some of the impact that the commercial aspect could bring to that area. So, with 45 apartments that could be built there now and potentially 100, 250, 300,000, whatever the square footage is on a commercial building, would add a lot more traffic to the area. I just think that roadway from North Canal to Campbell Drive, and then Campbell Drive heading west in the evening, and Maori coming out into is that 167 or 162? 162 needs some major improvements because of the added density that's going in the area. I was by Campbell in 162 the other day at rush hour in the evening, and I could not believe how far back those trying to go south were backed up way beyond the gas station, the racetrack there. And every developer that's come to us has pledged monies to improve that intersection. And I haven't seen anything done there ever to alleviate that traffic coming home at night to make that left-hand turn to go south. And then the Maori corridor there, where the traffic light's going to be installed, there are no improvements or there's no widening planned for that area as well. So this is not anything against the development at this time, but it's to our Public Works Department. You know, I asked the question, I think at the last meeting, about scheduling and planning for the widening of that roadway to Campbell from North Canal. And I think we had a response, but I don't remember what the answer was. So is that a project that the city itself is undertaking, or is that something we're waiting for the county to come in and do?
So you're asking about the expansion of 162, correct?
Widening it from from North Canal to Campbell Drive.
So that is a project that we have programmed into the TIP, the Transportation Improvement Plan. It is in the farthest out year, which I believe is 5 years, which is 5 years out. However, we also have monies from PTP that we are able to use on our own to accelerate that timeline, and are in the process of applying for multiple grants that would accelerate us closer than that 5-year timeline of the TIP.
All right, so if I remember right from that conversation, it was about a 16 or 18 month exploratory thing to try to figure out if we can even do it, right? So
that's correct.
I think we talked about expediting that process because one of the biggest obstacles we have on that roadway is the bridge, right? We got to reconstruct a bridge and widen it to handle the amount of traffic that we're trying to put onto this road. So to me, it's imperative that, I mean, it's bad enough coming home at night, right? To make that left-hand turn to go south, and with all the Maori corridor there, I can't comprehend that you're going to take a 17-minute delay down to 1 minute by the installation of a traffic light. I don't understand that. Call me foolish, but we'll see in a couple years if it's changed. But if not, we're going to have a lot of people yelling at us for that light to be changed, that roadway to be modified. And I think if we're going to be widening 162, then we need to plan to widen the Maori intersection there as well, at least to give a designated left-hand turn, which I think would be much more helpful. I saw a lot more cars turning south than I did see going north on that video or whatever that thing was that we saw. But I just have a hard time comprehending a 17-minute time delay going all the way down to 1 minute because of a traffic light. Thank you for my time here.
Thank you, Councilman Roth. Councilman Fletcher.
Just to kind of piggyback on Councilman Ross' discussion point, looking at the preparation of a new study or whatever we need to do to improve the timeline for 162 Avenue improvements, I think that needs to be a priority of this body and the city to try and move that forward. One of the things we did discuss was the installation of a new bridge, and I think there's cheaper, more economical ways of doing that with the use of culverts and dirt rather than trying to procure a bridge that's also going to require ongoing maintenance. If you notice that several of the locations in Florida City, that now has a culvert and it's all paved over, and as you move out east towards Turkey Point, most of the roads that cross over canals typically have a culvert built in with a lot of dirt and therefore less maintenance on bridges. So that's a way we might be able to improve the overall impact. I think that work can be done at night to try and get that improved as well. So I think that should be a priority for us to move forward. For that expansion, we also have to look at the relocation of a lot of the light poles, the power lines that are there, because they typically tend to squeeze in and then they go back out. So I don't know what that process looks like, but there's a lot of poles in that area. Maybe that's another area we can look at for going underground. But with that, that's it for now, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Fletcher. Who's next? Vice Mayor Guzman.
Thank you, Mayor. To our Public Works, I'm noticing on tab 4 in the concurrency review, it says potable water, sanitary sewer facilities. I just wanted to make sure that we had adequate, water and sewer for that area, because I know some other developments there have a private pump station. Does it have adequate water?
So, in speaking with Julio, the potable water, we can handle that within our allocation from the South Florida Water Management District. The sanitary sewer, we would need to send that to Miami-Dade County for treatment, which is something that we already do when the volumes exceed the volume of our treatment plant. So that's something that's already incorporated into our user rate.
Okay, so like I mentioned at the last meeting, if there is a way that when we need to enhance our infrastructure and there's a way that we can offset, or instead of charging impact fees, in lieu of charging the impact fees, have the developer make those improvements while they have all of their all their workers and all their infrastructure crews there, that would be a much better time to have that work done, that we could see, touch, feel it's getting done right away, instead of having the question like Councilman Roth said, we have all these developers promise certain things and then we don't see them. This is a way that we can make it happen immediately, and then when the project's done, we're seeing the benefit right away. Is that something we can implement?
If I may.
I will defer to the applicant and to Ms. Lopez.
As part of the development program, there are certain on-site and off-site improvements, including infrastructure, that every developer proposes through their site plan, and they build out that infrastructure. So if it's on the site plan, it's part of the resolution, they've committed to doing that work, and through the permitting and inspection process of development, we assert that all of that work has been completed. So with any subdivision by DR or Lennar or any other developer, they do the water and sewer, they do the sidewalks, the streets, the offsite improvements, the decel lanes, the community park, whatever is required as part of the site plan, that's included. Impact fees is totally different. Impact fees is a codified fee that you pay for police, parks, and public works. And it's very nominal. And you pay the city an impact fee and you pay the county an impact fee. But whatever infrastructure improvements are required as part of the site plan is done by the developer.
So if we understand that a dedicated left turning lane would work, and the developer says that they would proffer that, or they're interested and they'd be willing to do that, how could we get that done? When is the
If
proper
it's in
time
the
to
site
ask?
plan, it gets done, because we won't final out the subdivision, we won't release the bond, we won't issue the final CO until all of those improvements that are on the site plan have been built out.
If I may, through the mayor, Vice Mayor, I think you may be referring to the credit in lieu of impact fees for road specifically, that there's a mechanism in the county code. Road impact fees are paid directly to the county, and the impact fee districts, for instance, Homestead shares it with Kendall. So you are competing when, let's say this is a very small project, it's only 69 units, so the road impact fees are maybe $250,000 or, about maybe $400,000 or $500,000, right? So that's not enough to build significant infrastructure, but there's larger projects, right? Which is part of the conversation that we're having with your administration and the county, and continuing that conversation this Friday, is how do we, as developer in Homestead, ensure that the fees that we would have to pay anyways, those road impact fees, right, specifically for larger projects that are paying $2-3 million in impact fees, how do we keep them in Homestead? And one way is through that credit in lieu of impact fees. We have to come to an agreement with the city and the county. The traffic engineering division has to bless that agreement, and essentially they would credit the developer, and instead of paying the fee, they would build out that improvement. We'd have to, it's a very specific process. Again, this project is very small, but for larger projects, we can also, part of the conversation is also how do we put the money together, right, with the city to maybe, you know, the widening of 162nd, if that's part of the, you know, long-range plan or part of the city's capital improvements, that's something that can be part of that discussion. And it's not just D.R. Horton, really. Any developer of large projects can have, you know, join that conversation with us to get the funds directly to Homestead. Whereas now, you know, developers are paying millions of dollars in road impact fees, and they go to the county, and then it's based on their priority scale of when those projects get built. So that's part of what we're doing. We want to work with your staff, with your administration on, you know, getting that started.
Thank you for that explanation. I guess we'll circle back to that internally.
And I'll jump in when.
Yeah, so thank you for the time, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Council? Councilwoman? Sure. Councilwoman Bailey, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have any trolley stops currently along Maury there? Do they stop at like Deedco Gardens? No, nothing along there?
Yes, there is a stop at Deedco Gardens.
So with these new developments, then would we consider adding stops to these new developments?
Certainly.
Regarding the storage area for 24 of the 69 units, those 24 all have at least 10 square feet?
Correct.
All 24 of them?
Yes. Most of them have more than 10 square feet. The unit type E has 10. Some of them have like 14, 20.
So how is that figured, like 6 by 4?
It's based on the site plans and the floor plans that we submitted. But we know at least 24 are the ones that don't meet the minimum 40 square feet requirement.
So the thought process behind there is like a few storage bins or maybe a couple bicycles?
Yeah, I mean, they also have the garage for
Right.
bicycle in a corner.
Okay. So this one is one that I'm a little torn on for some really odd reasons. First of all is, you know, we want to stay away from the apartments, but we also do need the senior housing. So that doesn't necessarily contribute to traffic like we would assume for other large apartment complexes. And with how long things are taking in the Southwest with our senior housing, that was one piece that's one reason that I'm not a definite yes. But I really do appreciate the meetings to help facilitate all of these issues that we keep coming across. The information with the signal on Maury, I really do think that it's going to change tremendously. As I mentioned at the last meeting, that was my trip from my house to my sister's house over the last few years. And it's just impossible sometimes to make that left. You have to wait for both sides. You know, you don't have that left turning lane where you can stop before you make that left into the next area. Then the other con for me was taking away the commercial opportunity. But I think altogether with the improvements and the amenities, that's one thing that I've always kind of liked whenever there was a variance that was asked for, is we really do get to push for things that we do think will make the residents very happy. And as much as I do want to see that senior apartment complex, we're not guaranteed that it would be for senior living. So that 69 first-time home buyer opportunities is also a big plus.
If I may, Councilwoman, I want to respond to that because we also see, I know I only said young professionals and starting families, but townhomes are also a good, way to downsize when you're an empty nester. So I don't know if that's exactly what you had in mind for senior housing, but especially, thinking of the community garden that we've proffered, I could see that we have amenities for all the range of age groups, so.
No, I'm sure that opportunity is there. I just meant more in the sense of how Deedco Gardens is, that it's fully for seniors. But, no, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilwoman Fairclough?
Thank you, Mayor. Can you just speak a little bit more about the elevations? You kind of glossed over the enhancements to the elevations. Do you have any before and afters? And then just speak about the before and what you're proposing now, as well as the amenities, because I'm not sure if it's not D.R. Horton's model to have clubhouses. So in lieu of clubhouses, what have you done to enhance the amenities in this property?
Absolutely. If you can pull up our presentation. Perfect. So in lieu of, as you can see on the site plan, the site is lined by townhomes, and then there's this large center. It's over an acre of grass area that we've highly amenitized. So all the way at the southern end of the property, we're proposing a bark park. And then in that center, we're proposing a shaded tot lot. It's the larger footprint that you see on there. I also have details of the amenities, if you would allow me to pass them out.
I think it's important for the community to understand what you're doing to enhance. So we had conversations, and I'm asking you a question I already know the answer to, but I'm giving you the opportunity to communicate it to the community. So if you can communicate it in some clear way that they can easily see how you are enhancing this property, so that it can help us if we approve a variance, so that they know why we're approving the variance.
Absolutely. So we're providing a tot lot that is shaded. We're also providing a pavilion that can be used for like small gatherings, birthday parties, community gatherings. We've also incorporated a small community garden that it's an added feature where residents, it'll ultimately be monitored and programmed by the HOA and residents, future residents. But it's, they can plant maybe some vegetables or fruits. We also added an exercise track with a number of exercise machines all around the perimeter of where the tot lot is, the garden, and the pavilion. And as I mentioned, we also have the bark park. I also have a handout that I'm happy to, I just wouldn't have it on the screen, that has the detail of what the playground will look like, what the actual machines will look like. So I'll pass that through the clerk. And what I'm handing out is essentially the specs so that you can see what the actual equipment looks like, what the pavilion will look like, the bench at the bark park, etc.
Just a second, did you add the shade structure on those?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like in 60 seconds, can you share before, or can you share what was added or how it was enhanced based on our conversations?
Yes. So this is before, as you can see on the center, particularly of the site plan, we were only providing a simpler playground. And, you know, as the request of the council, the site was highly amenitized. And now, so this is before, had just the playground and then the Bark Park on the south. Then I'm going to switch to the proposed. And as you can see, the playground was enlarged. It includes now a shade structure, which before it did not. A small pavilion for community gatherings. The exercise track with machines all throughout that area, as well as the community garden. So all of that was updated, revised as a result of the council's requests.
And thank you for sharing that, because I'm not sure this is the case in other D.R. Horton properties, but this particular property, I thank you for being responsive to some of our requests, particularly that shade structure, because I wasn't going to let that go. Shade structure had to be there, so.
It's a valid point. We're in South Florida.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Now, can you talk about the elevations?
Sure. So these were the original elevations. Some of the comments we got from the council was like, how do we update some of the features? You know, like the doors, the garage doors, add additional treatments to the facade. And so this is what we came up with. Added additional, like that rock treatment to the garage door. We switched out the garage door. The light fixtures, you know, made them more modern, updated. We also changed the color palette. I also have, this is what they look like from far, and I can show you. I have some additional, like the door, for instance. These are the changes, and the site is highly landscaped. One thing I didn't mention in the site plan is that there's a 20-foot landscape buffer abutting Maori, which, you know, it will have nice vegetation and will buffer those units, even though they do have gated yards, but.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
This is a very small property, 69 townhomes, and because you have been responsive to some of our requests, I will be supporting it tonight. Relative to the elevations, I think is a good step forward. Not crazy about it, but it has some character, and I'm willing to meet you in the middle
Thank
with
you.
that. So
We
I'll be
appreciate that.
supporting it tonight.
Yes, Councilwoman Avila. I think so.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to thank you and the rest of D.R. Horton staff for taking my calls, listening to the requests that I've made. You know, I did vocalize at our last hearing that I'm not in favor of flipping ag to residential. Currently, it's being used for farming, some kind of fruit, with white paper bags over it. But nonetheless, it is actively being farmed. Regardless of what the underlying potential with commercial and apartments being zoned, it's not what it's used for today. So if we're going to flip ag into residential, my ask was, how can you turn this neighborhood into something more agri-hood? What components can you build into this concept and this design to attract, you know, to our population more farm-loving residents, you know, those that are going to nurture a grow-to-eat lifestyle, you know, help us continue to enrich our ag-rich culture. So you mentioned the community garden, which I think was specifically added probably to appease me. and maybe some others on the council. But can you tell me how you're going to make it successful? I was really interested in seeing where and how in your association guidelines and your rules and regulations or your overall logistics of how you're going to handle this, turn it into something that is actually successful and in the concept of like a farm share, not the entity, but in the sense of where you're growing crops and you're sharing it in the community. How is that going to work? Because I don't like the idea of proffering community garden and then it just being dirt that doesn't get utilized. The other things that I wanted to mention was with regards to the elevations, I really tried to help inspire some of those changes. You know, I really recommended to give those porches or, you know, the overhang and lack of a porch a facelift so that it can be more inviting, give it more of a country feel. We missed the mark on that, but we did add some of those other facade elements and improvements. It's not a home run, so I really want you to get me there where we're making this community, where we're going to fill the gap a little bit. Okay, I want to meet in the middle, like my councilwoman over here likes to say. And I agree, I think we should, because you have been very responsive. I think that the traffic study is also enlightening, and it's a good standard for us to now hold other developers too, so I appreciate that as well. But I want to give the mic back to you. Go ahead.
Thank you. I appreciate that. To the first point about the garden, you know, we think it was suggested by you, Councilwoman. It's a great amenity. With regards to how we're going to program it, that's going to be, we don't want to restrict future residents or impose or force them to use any of the amenities, right? As you can imagine, if you have a dog, you'll use the bark park. If you don't, you probably won't. If you have kids, you'll probably use the shaded pavilion, you know, and the tot lot. If you don't, you probably won't. We feel the same way about the garden. I'm sure out of the 69 homes, there's going to be a couple of maybe elderly, you know, downsizing. That's a nice activity for them to do, and they'll utilize that. But that'll ultimately be decided by the future governing board of that HOA. Again, only 69 townhomes, so anything that we impose on them now has like financial repercussions after they purchase, and we don't want to overburden them in a market that is already very difficult to acquire a home in.
Okay. So unfortunately, I'm not really satisfied with that answer, okay? It's not thought through. Even something simple as, okay, it's going to be a rental agreement, or even if it's zero fee based, or they have to bring their own supplies, or there's a shed where they can, you know, store items under a locker type system. It's not thought out. So, I mean, we're going to leave it at that point. My other concern was with regards to not just the traffic on Maui, but the parking in general for the project. So the parking has, for 69 units, let's say 3 cars per unit, that's about 207 cars for the entire project. That's if only one child out of the couple that's living in these 3 4-bedroom units if only one of them has a car. So these 207 cars are going to park 2 in front of their unit and the other one all along the street line. And the guest spaces are where?
The guest spaces are along the that center where the amenities are. There's like small dots, which I don't know if you could see them in your screen. There's a.
So how many guest spaces does this project have?
It has 13 guest spaces.
13 guest spaces aside from the 2 parking spaces in front of the unit.
Correct. Something else I'd like to point out is that we're not seeking any reduction of the right-of-way, so these are full-width right-of-ways. Obviously, that's not to meet the code requirement, but there is sufficient space to park in front of the units, like parallel. without blocking the right-of-way.
Okay, so let's say you can fit the 3 cars in front of the unit. So that's 207 cars parked along the units and then 13 guest spaces. So no one else can have a guest if there's if there's 13 already there. So it really feels very jam-packed. It just feels wrong for me. And it feels wrong for me because we also just passed a resolution trying to protect our farmlands. And, I know that it wasn't unanimous, it was 6-1, and that's okay. But at least for me, I'm going to stay true to my position on ag to residential. I think this is going to pass tonight, and so I'm happy with the fact that these improvements are being, proffered with this project, and that if it does go forward, we'll have the improvements on Maui, we'll have, this project with the amenities that are provided, but unfortunately, it's going to go forward without my vote tonight. And I want to be very clear that you have been phenomenal. And that my vote is not a reflection of your inability or ability to, convert my vote. It's just where I'm at on this position, okay? So I hope we get to work on future projects, and I am looking forward to...
We'll be back before you.
Right, the one coming up in the Algiers property, so I look forward to having input on that as well. But for this project, and, I really do hope the community garden is something that, I hope you prove me wrong with it, and that I can come back and say, let's use this as an example moving forward. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councilwoman. All right, one more shot. Any follow-up questions or comments? Councilman Fletcher?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, again, thank you for everything you've done so far. As we go way back to our initial meetings, one of the things we initially talked about was the elevations. And I think you've improved dramatically. However, there's still room for more improvement, especially when it comes to the color schemes. You have an opportunity here to make this a great little community that stands out from everything around it. And I think you need to take that into heart as you're continuing to move forward. One of the things we did discuss that I think really applies to the overall reduction of the 40 square feet was the installation of storm windows. That's one of the things that I specifically asked for, and I believe Councilman McCormick did as well, and I got that almost messed that up. But the color palette, again, is it needs some work. I really want to focus, and this isn't more towards you, it's more towards city staff again. If I remember correctly, the light working at 162 in Maui was not going to be until October. Is the current plan of the county turning that light on?
My understanding is yes, but the Julio had an idea that if we would leave the left turn signal off, we might be able to get the light turned on earlier. Because remember, there had to be like a left-hand turn onto Maui, if I'm not mistaken.
So again, I think that should be our priority in getting that working as soon as possible, and I think that'll show the reduction of what you're looking at from 17 cars or 17 minutes to 1 minute. The timing of those lights, if they're done correctly, you can get 20 or 25 cars through an intersection pretty quick. So let's try and move forward with that, and I look forward to supporting this tonight, and hopefully we'll have some additional discussion here in the next couple of weeks on some improvements you might want to make. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Wow, where do I start? Good and valid comments across the board here tonight. So I guess I'll start with, it should be no secret to you or your clients or anybody else in this room that I'm not a fan of any more townhouses. And not that there's not always a time and a place for townhouses. I think that our community is overburdened with that product. I'd like to see us get back in balance with more single family. So, for those who need to hear this, you're really going to have a good reason for me to approve any townhouses in the future. And fortunately, it's interesting. This is a very small project as things go. We've got Parker Point to the north that's almost 4 times the size of this project. And we're sitting here now exacting concession after concession after concession for this project, which in the big scheme of things is really pretty small, but none of the, I don't recall most of the concerns that have been imposed upon you tonight being imposed on any other number of projects. And, you know, I want to compliment you and your client that you've come a long way toward meeting the concerns that all of us have expressed as to the look and feel and the traffic impacts, the school impacts, the infrastructure impacts. And for me, I've got the benefit of knowing what we're going to come forward with. Probably not at the next council meeting, but sometime, hopefully, you know, not later than the next committee of the whole, or sometime in a special presentation between the council meeting and the committee of the whole, so that we can reveal, if not the magic bullet, almost the magic bullet to solve a lot of the problems that exist in terms of roadway capacity and infrastructure improvements, with funding, with a path to expediting it. And again, it was kind of downplayed here tonight, but I want council and the public to realize that we had in the room all of our staff. We had a lot of attorneys and the applicant from their side. We had the director of the Miami-Dade Transportation Planning Organization in person in the room, and 2 or 3 folks who were probably the second and third and fourth ranking members of the Miami-Dade County Department of Transportation and Public Works, all putting our heads together, finding that path forward. And I hope that your competitor is watching and listening to what's going on here tonight and will finally come to the table and join and enhance the double-digit millions that we've already talked about to do city-wide roadway improvements. And I'll tell you, one of the kickers for me tonight was that graphic depiction of just what the traffic light will do. And you know that I asked, you know, that graphic for 2025 does not contemplate any roadway improvements. That was solely from one additional light. However, I don't disagree. The intersection of Campbell and 162nd is an absolute disaster, and it has been. But this project didn't make it that way. The unbridled and unlimited runaway development to the south in Keysgate with no capture of those impact fees created the problems that you and your client have now come to the table to help us repair. So you know, I look forward to that opportunity to really show the public that we're not continuing to rubber stamp and just say build, build, build. That this is the night. Let's, you know, mark this on the calendar. That as all of our developers go forward, you got to bring more in terms of design and neighborhood amenities. You got to bring some facade improvements, and you got to bring infrastructure improvements. Pavement, capacity, water, sewer. We're not living in a bubble anymore. You know, we learned the last council meeting that we're way behind on our infrastructure charges for electrical. I mean, if development has to pay for itself, and I think we're going to take a big step forward in doing that tonight. I just want to touch on one issue. We're not talking here tonight about rezoning a nursery west of town at the western limits from ag to estate density. We're talking about the development of property that already has development rights. So whether it's this project or part commercial and part projects, this open space that I would love to maintain, but I know it's not practical reality, already has a development approval in place. So I want to draw that important distinction that if this is approved tonight, our fingerprints are not on the death of an agricultural piece of property. That was done years ago by a prior council. So, you know, that's a different discussion for a different day, but I want to thank you and your client for coming back and addressing our concerns. You know, admittedly, and for myself, and I think most of my colleagues, not 100%, but we're a long way from 0%. And I'm glad that we could pull this meeting together tonight and help you as you have helped us understand some of the ins and outs of this project. So with that, I think, Mr. White, do we need to address tab 6 first in order of approvals?
That's correct, Mayor. Tab 6 is the first item for consideration. It is in hierarchy, it's the future land use map amendment that you would need to decide first.
Okay.
And then depending on the outcome of that, will then set the stage with respect to the other applications.
All right,
And I
before-
was just reminded
right.
of public comment.
Before we though go there, Councilman Roth has signaled he'd like to make a final comment, and then I know we have public comment. So Councilman Roth. I'm sorry, I just said I have a comment. No, I saw the hand waving in the back. Thank you. Okay, so we'll open the floor to public comment now. Please come forward and give us your name and address for the record if anyone would like to comment on this application. Let's get Mr. Kraft a microphone. Nice beard. That was fast.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a couple of things I would like to say. What kind of barrier would there be for the noise from the turnpike? Would there be some kind of berm? Or what would there be? Because the turnpike noise would be immense. It's that close to the turnpike. Also, the stuff about a little yard or a garden where you can grow your vegetables, that's a little too close for the turnpike because you have lead and other things coming from the turnpike, and that will basically make the vegetables uneatable. According to the latest study, you have to be at least 100 feet away from anything if you even have to consider eating it. So it can just be for fun or play or something like that. The vegetables will not be eatable because it's too close to the turnpike, unless you want to be sick. There will be a buildup of heavy metals in your body, just like when you have it with the birds, because they are predators. They eat smaller animals. Another thing, wouldn't it be nicer with that project there on corner if instead of 69 they had made it 59, so they will have a little more green space? I know Erica is a favor of green space, and Fletcher is in favor of green space. It's not all about the mighty dollar and how much they can squeeze us for down here in Homestead. We are known for the rubber stamp, like you said, Mayor, and it's not good. They up north, they say to Lennar and Dior when they want to do something similar, go south. We don't want you, go south. And we need to think about what we have before it's too late, because when it's too late, it's hard to convince them to tear it down. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Kraft. Do we have another public comment? And then we'll take all the comments, and then if the applicant's representative wishes to address any of the comments, we'll take care of that then. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Brandy Ramirez, 2231 Southeast First Street. I want to thank Councilwoman Avila for her words that she's supporting the farm worker and she's staying true to her vote. I hope that Mayor and Council vote no, reference this. You mentioned yourself, reference no to townhomes. In reality, the traffic that Mr. Roth had mentioned, traffic is not doing good. Community residents are not for it. They've mentioned it over. We need jobs. We need employment. My question is, if it's commercial, could it bring jobs? Or is it not designated for that? So that's one of the questions. Hopefully someone can answer that. And I mean, just looking at the video, seeing the cars backing up, whether it says 17 minutes or 1, I'm not convinced as well either. So hopefully you guys take that into consideration and know that the residents, what they want, they've already voiced it, and it wouldn't be more traffic. So hopefully you take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Any further public comment? Good evening, Mr. Horta.
How are you doing, Mayor Lawson? Romero Horta, 2040 Southeast 19th Street. The address that I just mentioned is affected by this new project we have going because that is in Keysgate, the Shores. I take that road every morning, and just like Mr. Councilman Roth mentioned, I don't see one light making a significant impact from reducing it from 16 to a minute. My recommendation is that maybe we turn that light on, give it a trial and error, and see how it really goes, because I really think this light is being held hostage in order for this thing to get passed. But I am going to tell you that that light will make no significant dramatic loss in wait time, as the builder mentioned. One of the things that it's not mentioned is not only is that road a 2-lane, but it turns into a 1-lane before the bridge. And then there's 2 commercial infrastructures that create the additional traffic. One of the commercial infrastructure is currently, well, a family of a city employee owns it. I'm not sure if anyone addressed that family in regards to causing traffic between the hours that the builder mentioned, from 7 a.m. to, was it 8 a.m. or something like that? Maybe if you address that commercial infrastructure, maybe traffic will reduce in time. And then the other thing, I'm very disappointed in some of you where you guys are going to approve this project without giving any consideration to the actual resident that lives in the area. Councilwoman Fairclough, I'm surprised you didn't speak on the traffic. I mean, you take that road every morning because I see you. I mean, it's just mind-boggling that you're going to approve it because they added a shade to a park. I mean, and then Councilman Fletcher, I'm surprised that you're even approving it, but then again, you don't take that road because you live on the other side of Keysgate. Councilwoman Avila, thank you for stepping up to this. We need more people like you to address certain things like this. But one of the things that you guys are not taking into consideration, which Vice Mayor Guzman, I'm surprised you didn't bring this up. Currently, the market is doing horrible, and rates are going up, and they're going to keep going up. So I don't know how the builder is planning on selling a 250-plus townhome in Homestead with all the crime that happens not only in Homestead colonies, but in the apartments down the street. I don't know how you guys are going to convince a buyer to purchase a $250,000 home at the rates of 7% and 8% for 30 years. I mean, I don't see it. So the only thing you're going to have there is a lot of empty lots. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Okay. Mr. Kraft, is it something, how quickly? I'll give you a minute. You've got to have a microphone.
I do it quick, I promise you. I just want to remind you guys, it's election. There are several of you guys who are up for election. And not everybody in Homestead is for density. And some of you have a key in your, what you want to say, what you want to run on, no density. We don't want to have more density, right? So therefore, think about it when you vote. Patricia, think about what you do with your heart. Pleasure. Put your mind where your feet are. The same goes for a couple of the other ones. We don't need more density. Thanks.
Considering you've been an ardent proponent of the 600 units at the old City Hall site, I'm having a hard time reconciling that comment. No. I gave you a minute, Mr. Kraft. I just am not going to let that go unchallenged. The density that we would do away with by this approval is higher than what is requested under this approval. I want to give the counsel for the applicant an opportunity to respond to any of the questions or comments that were made.
Mayor, if I may before.
Yes, Councilwoman Fairclough.
So just to clarify, and Mr. Kraft, you know I vote from my heart. So let's make that straight. So don't challenge me about voting from my heart, because I do. So just to clarify, I am very knowledgeable about the traffic in this area because about 80% of the time when I drop my daughter off to school right there, I travel this road. So yes, I do frequent it because my daughter attends school there. And I did not support it because of a shade structure. I just mentioned that. Mayor, you referenced the impact if it does not pass. So that's what I base my vote on. If this is not passed, what can be built there would be an even higher burden on this community. So it's very important that we are fully aware of the implications of this project versus what can go there. So if you want to speak to that, to clarify any misconceptions.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilwoman. To Councilwoman and Mayor's point, this project, this property is currently entitled and allowed to be built with apartments and intense commercial uses. We are seeking to reduce that impact by proposing 69 townhome units. And the council had a hand at ensuring that the final community is what the city of Homestead deserves. And again, we'll continue to strive, right? We can always do more. Everybody can always do more. So this project, you know, as the council has stated very clearly, is a reduction from what can be done there today. And I wish we had the switch for the light. We don't, but we're assured we'll work with your staff and the county to see if we can expedite that October date. And what that will do is that the traffic will flow, whereas right now, as Michelle Lopez mentioned, it comes to a complete stop, and essentially you have to fight your way to get onto 162nd. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor.
You know, while we were meeting with the applicant, I was very adamant about getting a synchronized traffic study because I think traffic has been the biggest issue in that area. We all make a left-hand turn and it takes a long time. And when the applicant brought the traffic engineer, the professional person who came in and really exemplified his professionalism by explaining to me exactly how this would unfold, I was very impressed. And I said, I think we need to move forward doing this every single time. So then what happened at the last council meeting, there was a hiccup and we needed staff. So now we've got two professional entities looking at this traffic study. I mean, if we're not traffic engineers, the best we can do is allow them to give us their opinion and move forward from there. So that's the reason I'm supporting this tonight too, and also the intensity of what could potentially be there is also benefiting. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And I just wanted to add, while we were reviewing the animation tonight, and we can all, I think, express our concerns. Is it 1 minute or is it 2 minutes versus 15, whatever that may be. But what kept going through my mind was that with that light, the safety for those traveling in and out of the villages has got to be vastly, vastly improved. So while we know that some really extensive road improvements are down the road, so to speak, I think that the sense of safety for the residents who are here now, not those who are going to come behind them, but that light, done as a requirement of another project, is going to create safety so that at least at this intersection, the impacts of this project will not be felt by those who are now traveling those roads. Yes, we've got to do something about Maury as well. Everybody understands that, but I wanted to put on the record there about my observations about the safety enhancements that are going to be occasioned by this. So thank you. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to piggyback a little bit on that last piece, I hope that everybody knows, I'm sure that we all mean it, we want to hear from the residents. And calls or messages or meetings before this meeting, I would gladly sit down and walk through the steps of how I got to where I'm getting. And that's the bottom line, is that the density could potentially be higher. That's what I mentioned in the beginning. If it could be towards for our senior population, and it was an apartment that wouldn't necessarily add to the traffic. And of course, if it was one of our farms, I don't think any of us would vote yes for it. So please keep that in mind. I'm not running for election, but we do want, very lucky me, but we do want to hear from everybody. So please, I know that a lot of you that come here do speak to others, so please encourage them to come out and talk to us. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. All right, so I'm going to, yes, I'm sorry, Councilman Fletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I also want to just point out the fact that the traffic study that was done by the county ultimately is going to have a new setup here sometime in October as well. If I remember that date correctly, they're going to be implementing the traffic camera systems and the timing of those lights sometime towards the end of this year. So that should impact this intersection as well.
End of this year or early next year, if I recall from what Michelle had provided.
And just a couple of quick items. I take that road every day. As a matter of fact, I was involved in an accident on that road the other day. So I take it every day. I drive through that road constantly. How I get to City Hall is I go to Maury and come here. Because if you go any other way, you can't get here in time. Maury's still a shortcut. But I think ultimately we need to continue to focus on that intersection and that roadway improvement over the next couple of years, and we can have a good north-south exit and entryway into that area. Thank you.
And Councilman, if I can, just want to remind everyone that the county is the one that controls the light signalization. We don't control it. We repeatedly ask, but in the end, it's their decision when to turn the light on or not. Okay?
Thank you, Mr. Manager. All right, so I'm going to close the public hearing, and I'm going to first ask for a motion on tab 6.
I will move it.
Move for approval of tab 6 by Councilwoman Bailey. Yes, turn on your red light. Yeah, okay.
I will
And
second that
seconded by
motion.
Councilman Fletcher. So let's have a roll call vote on tab 6. This is a future land use map amendment.
Councilwoman Bailey?
Yes.
Councilman Roth? Yes. Councilman Fletcher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers?
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila?
No.
Vice Mayor Guzman?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Now, Mr. White, do we need to go back to 1 and 2? Is that correct?
That's correct, Mayor. So if you would go back to starting with tab 1 in sequential order, tab 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
All right, so we need a motion on tab 1. Be clear for the public. This is a rezoning from business to townhouse of a portion of this project. So I need a motion on tab 1. It's for second reading, rezoning from restricted retail to residential townhouse district.
Move approval.
Move for approval by Councilman Fletcher.
Second.
Seconded by the Vice Mayor. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers?
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher?
Yes.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey?
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila?
No.
Vice Mayor Guzman?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Now I need a motion on tab 2, which is a rezoning from R3, multiple apartments, to residential townhouse district on another portion of the property. It's the second reading. We have a motion for approval on tab 2.
Move approval.
Moved by Councilwoman Bailey.
Second.
Seconded by Vice Mayor Guzman. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey?
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila?
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Guzman?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Next item is tab 3. This is a variance with respect to the storage area. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Moved by Councilman Fletcher,
Second.
second by Vice Mayor Guzman. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Fletcher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila?
No.
Councilwoman Bailey?
Yes.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Guzman,
Yes.
Mayor Losner.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Tab 4, public hearing 2021-76.
Mayor?
Yes.
Good. With respect to a motion for approval on the site plan for tab 4, there is one condition I think needs to be added, and that is the condition with regards to the units have hurricane impact windows.
Yeah, we understand that the applicant previously consented to that. So we have a motion to approve tab 4, subject to the insertion of the requirement of, the condition of hurricane impact windows and doors? For the doors hurricane as well? I'm not including garage doors?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So we have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Move, thank you for speaking into the move for approval with that additional condition by Vice Mayor Guzman.
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Fletcher. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Bailey?
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila?
No.
Councilwoman Faircloth Staggers?
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher?
Yes.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Guzman?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
And finally, tab 5, approval of the tentative plat for Machado Groves. We have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Moved by Vice Mayor,
Second.
seconded by Councilwoman Bailey. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Avila?
No.
Councilman Roth?
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher?
Yes.
Councilwoman Faircloth Staggers?
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Guzman?
Yes.
Mayor Losner?
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Thank you all. Appreciate you for,
We look forward to
look
continuing.
forward to our meeting. Very much so. Thank you. All right, next item are resolutions. Mr. Pearl.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, tab 7 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving Sunbelt Waste Equipment, DBA Sunbelt Hydraulics and Equipment, as the sole source for supplies, equipment, and services as the city's fleet camera system provider for the City of Homestead, recognizing competitive bidding exemption pursuant to City Code Section 2-411.1A7, authorizing purchase of supplies, equipment, and services in accordance with city budgets, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Pearl. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. In an effort to increase safety and accountability citywide, city staff began exploring the implementation of cameras on all city vehicles. The desired outcome of the camera system is threefold. 1, verify the provision of services, provide coaching opportunities with city staff as to safe driving habits, and protect the city from frivolous accident claims. In December of 2022, city staff met with Third Eye Technologies and Sunbelt Waste Management and subsequently determined that their camera system and monitoring services were the ideal fit for the city's needs. The first vehicles receiving the new cameras are 10 solid waste side loaders, with additional vehicles to come. All new vehicles citywide will receive cameras upon delivery, and installation of cameras on existing vehicles will take place as budgeted within each department. Staff recommends that Mayor and Council approve the attached resolution authorizing the city manager to purchase supplies, equipment, and services within established departmental budgets with Sunbelt Waste Equipment, DBA Sunbelt Hydraulics and Equipment for the city's fleet camera system. Orders will be placed as needed.
Thank you, sir. Council, questions, comments? Councilman Fletcher.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just quickly, I did have a discussion with the manager and actually with one of your assistants because you were out of the office, and requested to know how many vehicles, possibly that this might overall impact. And right now, that number is 192, not including police vehicles. So not mean that we're going to put cameras on every one of those, but that's the potential impact down the road. That's all. Thank you.
And thank you, Councilman. Yes, definitely we're going to hit the high priority solid waste, code, QRT, parks, for services that we know where staff needs to be and when they need to be there. So there's accountability on both sides, one on staff sides and ensuring that, the work's being done properly as needed.
Mr. Vice Mayor.
Does adding these cameras improve our insurance premiums?
That's one of the discussions we are having with our insurance providers as well. Since the cameras look into the cab, you can see what the driver is doing at the time. So if the driver's paying attention, not on his cell phone, things of that nature, then that could be used in an insurance claim if there's an accident.
Could you please let us know immediately after you get that answer from the insurance provider?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. That's all.
Well, and it also captures, what other folks are doing outside of the cab. But I think the key word, Mr. Manager, is accountability. And I kind of view this system as body cams for our vehicles. It's no longer a he said, she said. You picked up my trash. Well, your trash wasn't out there kind of thing. It's going to solve a lot of issues and create accountability both on our side as well as that of our customers. So thank you. I know this is one of the major initiatives in the solid waste overhaul, and appreciate that. Council, anything further? All right, so do we have any public comment on this item? None appearing, I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion to approve tab 7.
Motion approved.
Motion by Vice Mayor Guzman, seconded by Councilman Fletcher. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey,
Yes.
Councilman Roth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila,
Yes.
Councilman Fletcher,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Guzman,
Yes.
Mayor Losner.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. And Mr. Pearl, tab 8.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, tab 8 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Homestead, Florida, approving the HEAL CO DBA AWTI Third Eye Cam as a sole source for subscription and training services as the city's fleet camera system provider for the City of Homestead, recognizing competitive bidding exemption pursuant to City Code Section 2-411.1A7, authorizing purchases of subscription and training services in accordance with city budgets, providing for implementation, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff recommends the mayor and council approve the attached resolution authorizing the manager to purchase supplies, equipment, and services within established departmental budgets with the Heil Co. DBA AWTI Third Eye Cam for the city's fleet camera system. Orders will be placed for subscription and services as needed. The video monitoring services provide the capability of automatic notification of certain events such as accidents, hard breakings, or distracted driver behaviors. In the case of solid waste vehicles, it also provides service verification and automatic notification of overfilled dumpsters violations. This is the sister car to the previous one. The first one was for the hardware. This second one is for the actual software, which is used to record the video and monitor the system.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Vice Mayor?
After public comment, I'd like the motion to approve.
Okay. So, anything from council on this? Vote the floor for public comment.
I just have a quick
Sure.
question. Jerry, we have spoken about this in my meetings with department heads about, accountability and GPS trackers. So that is not before us tonight, but is that coming?
GPS is included with this.
Oh, okay.
So literally it shows
And
the
all
route
of
at
them.
the end of, right, so let's say it's on a QRT truck. Pedro will be able to get at the end of the day and ensure that they did their routes and they were where they were supposed to. So yes, all these systems include GPS as well.
And does it permit for some type of mechanism to record like the idling?
Interesting,
That's very important because I see a lot
okay,
of
Zach's
trucks
correcting
idling.
me. Yeah, Zach is correcting me that yes, accordingly it could indicate idling.
Okay,
Yes.
perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Good point. Okay, so we'll now open the floor to public comment. Hearing none, I'll close the public hearing, and I think Vice Mayor Guzman wanted to move approval.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Vice Mayor Guzman, seconded by Councilwoman Bailey. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilman Roth,
Yes.
Councilwoman Avila, Councilman Fletcher,
Yes.
Councilwoman Bailey,
Yes.
Councilwoman Fairclough Staggers,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Guzman,
Yes.
Mayor Losner.
Yes.
The motion carries.
Thank you. Mr. Pearl, I think you needed a exec session?
I did, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to request a session in the matter of Greenview, City of Homestead. It's case number 22-003151 in Circuit Court for Miami-Dade County. Thank you.
Very good. Let's make it happen. Anything further, Mr. Manager?
No, Mayor.
All right, just a quick note to the public, as this was a special call, we don't have a public comments section. Was specific to the items before us. If I might, I have a really quick announcement for the public and for my colleagues who might not have seen the item yet. Tonight I want to address quickly something that's come to my attention and one that really concerns me as mayor. I want to start by acknowledging that I know and acknowledge that the vast majority of our city employees abide by the rules and work tirelessly day in and day out to make sure that our city runs smoothly and that our citizens receive the service they need. From the police officers who put their lives on the line to keep us safe, to the public works employees who keep our streets clean and our parks beautiful, and to many other city employees who serve every day with dedication and integrity, we owe them our sincere gratitude. That's why when we receive reports of employees attempting to abuse their position for personal gain or benefit, we must act. We cannot and we will not let the actions of a few tarnish the reputation of the many who work hard every day to make Homestead a better place to live, work, and learn. These allegations, which were detailed in a letter last week from Wendy Cornoyer, Director of Human Resources, suggest that some city employees may have used their official position to request preferential treatment and also acted discourteously towards the staff at Showbiz Cinemas while visiting the establishment. It's been relayed to me that at least one even used the name of a public elected official to gain a benefit. I'm assuming to gain a benefit, or maybe they were going to run tell one of us. Well, let's be clear. This behavior is unacceptable and illegal and goes against the very core of what it means to be a public servant, whether elected, appointed, or employed. Therefore, I've requested the city manager and the Miami-Dade Commission on Ethics and Public Trust to launch a joint investigation into these allegations to determine the facts and take appropriate action as necessary. I've requested a written report detailing the method of investigation and the findings be provided to council. I want it to be clear that this is not about punishing those who have violated ethics rules. It's about preventing future violations. It is important that all employees understand the rules and regulations related to ethics, including the prohibition on using their official position for personal gain or benefit, and the prohibition on accepting gifts or other benefits from entities that are doing business with, seeking to do business with, or regulated by the city. I want to reassure the citizens of Homestead that we will not tolerate any unethical behavior in our city. We will continue to hold ourselves accountable and to the highest standards. As First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt once said, it is not fair to ask of others what you're not willing to do yourself. When we take a public role, we must put the interest of our community first and serve the people of Homestead. And for all of us, again, elected, appointed, or employed, that means putting their interest, the interest of the city people, the city of Homestead, above our own. We're going to do everything we can to restore your trust in our city government and public service. And I will not let the actions of a few tarnish the reputation of our city or undermine the trust of our community. I want to reiterate my commitment to ethics and integrity in public service. And again, thank our hardworking employees for their dedicated service. We will continue to investigate this matter and take appropriate action. Moving forward, we must redouble our efforts and work tirelessly to ensure our city runs smoothly so that our citizens receive the service they need, deserve, and expect with honesty, integrity, and transparency. Thank you. Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to thank Public Works. I noticed that they started enhancing the sidewalks, requested those sidewalk enhancements. I saw the work getting done. Thank you so much. It's made a lot of people in the neighborhood very happy. Please continue the good work. Thank you.
And real quick, also to those who were back out finishing last night's route due to overcapacity, I got follow-up emails and phone calls from people who were complaining to me at 10:30 last night about why wasn't my bulk waste picked up. It was picked up this morning, and I happened to be there when it happened, and I want to thank the manager and his staff and those who are out there extra early on whatever route it may be to make sure the job gets done.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, the unanticipated amount of bulky garbage that was out on Monday, it was just impossible to pick it up on one day. So the staff went out and they finished up, if not all of it today, most of it today. So.
And I got my calendar of pickup days in the mail, at least at the office today. I haven't been home yet, so I don't know, but that was much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I have something.
Councilwoman.
Thank you. We talked about this, Jerry, and maybe it's been taken care of, but for projects that get passed and move forward, are we making sure that we have a check mark for the American flags to be on their list before they get their CO?
Yes, we've already spoken to Development Services, and what we're thinking of doing is including the resolution that you authored, right, to support the American flag at all the developments, and we're going to make sure that all that's included in the packets moving forward, so.
Thank you. And then also, I want to wish everyone a happy spring break. That's next week, so all the parents, have a good time, stay safe. And I think our meeting is the 30th? 29th. The 29th? Okay. All right, I'll see you all then. Thank you.